where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Maris.
Hello.
But not Maris Monday.
I missed it again.
No, you were there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. You're just here with me.
Oh, I'm glad. I thought I was somewhere else.
Were you confused?
I thought I was in a different dimension.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Remember, this isn't Maris Monday. We don't talk about that here.
Oh, damn it.
No, what we're doing is another celebrity month on Cruelty. Today I'm covering actress Dominique Dunne, best known for playing Dana in the movie Poltergeist.
Okay, I did see that movie.
Yes. We will be covering the Poltergeist curse on Maris Monday because, like, almost everyone that was in that had a bad time.
R.I.P. people on Poltergeist.
Yeah, there was another murdered person. There's like 2 murders, 1 death, 1 almost plane crash. There's like a lot.
They should have just quit making it, you know?
Well, they did.
Oh,
because
but the movie's done.
Heather O'Rourke, Carol Ann, died.
Oh.
So they quit making them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's sad. Okay, what are we doing today?
I told you, but you're just going to listen now.
Okay.
So I'm not repeating it because the audience knows.
Oh, the good on them.
So trigger warning, content warning, domestic violence, stalking, and suicide.
Oh.
Just an attempt and probably not, but
Okay.
you'll see what I mean in a bit.
Oh, boy.
The movie Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper and produced and written by Steven Spielberg, could get its own episode on Maris Monday for how many deaths took place after its filming and for how there's a supposed curse. But we're only talking about Dominique today. The movie, released in 1981, was an instant classic that catapulted everyone in it to, like, fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. The movie tells the story of the Freeling family. Craig Nelson plays the father, who is a real estate agent for an unscrupulous developer who had a subdivision built over a graveyard where he only moved the gravestones and not the bodies. So everything was
Jerk.
haunted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dominique played their 17-year-old daughter, Dana, and throughout the movie she's portrayed as not only a rebellious teenager, but a teen mom, because if you pay attention, she's eating pickles and ice cream, and there's always snacks around her, and she's
I think
tired.
I missed that. I'm sure it's there. I don't remember that part.
Yes, as somebody who's seen this movie probably about 30 times, yeah, for
Okay.
sure. And it's funny, too, because the mom even talks about how she had Dana when she was only 17.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of, that kind of phenomenon where if you
Yeah.
have like a super young mom, you're going to be a super young mom.
Unfortunately, when I was growing up in high school, that was true.
It's still true
Unfortunately.
today. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Ugh, it cycles.
But yeah, we'll cover the Poltergeist curse part on Maris Monday. Dominique Dunne was born on November 23rd, 1959 in Santa Monica, California. She was the youngest child of producer and screenwriter Dominique Dunne, who she was named after. Ellen Griffin owned a ranch and went by the name of Lenny, and that was her mother. Alex and Griffin were her 2 brothers. Griffin was best known for playing Nikki Pearson on the show This Is Us. I have never seen it.
I never seen that, Sorry.
Yeah. But it's apparently people like that show.
Oh, well, it wasn't me.
Dominique was well loved and had a good childhood. Her family was known to celebrities and directors and other producers. Dominique was said to be a lover of animals and was always rescuing strays. In 1967, her parents divorced but remained friends. Dominique went to Harvard Westlake School in Los Angeles, and after graduating, she studied art and Italian in Florence, Italy. Well, bloody fucking damn.
Yeah, that's very fancy of her.
Well, I mean, rich, famous people we're talking
that's
about.
true. I'm like, well, I grew up in a garbage can, so there.
You did study art in Europe, though.
Oh, that's right. I am a fancy pants. Whoops.
In 1975, Lenny, Dominique's mother, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and a few years later, she was in a wheelchair.
Oh, that's sad, though.
Yeah. Dominique returned to Beverly Hills and decided to become an actress. She studied acting at the University of Colorado. She was in plays and her performances were well received, so she began doing auditions for movies and television shows, and her first movie was made in 1979 and it was called Diary of a Teenaged Hitchhiker. Never seen it.
Mm-mm.
In the early 80s, Dominic got a lot of bit parts on TV shows. Can't talk today.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I ain't talking good.
That's me too. So why am I laughing?
I don't know. She was also in the films Breaking Away and The Day the Loving Stopped, but her best-known performance is her role as Dana Freeling in Poltergeist as the sassy and rebellious teenage daughter. She doesn't have a ton of screen time, but she was great when she was on, and film critics praised her performance as well and said she was sure to have many more starring roles in the years to come. I mean, she's a pretty girl.
Yeah.
She's a good actress. Yeah.
Yeah, you have your whole life ahead of you until you was in a movie with ghosts.
She earned herself a role afterwards on the sci-fi television miniseries V and was set to reprise her role as Dana Freeling in Poltergeist 2. Dana was well on her way to becoming a household name. In 1981, Dominique met a man named John Thomas Sweeney at a party. John was the oldest of 5 children, but had no contact with his family for unknown reasons that I suspect are that John was a violent asshole.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Boo.
He was down on his luck, living in Los Angeles. He didn't even own a car. He was a few years older and worked at the restaurant Mamazan as a chef. And Mamazan was a very upscale dining establishment for, like, the Hollywood elite.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even have a public phone number.
Oh, dang.
Like, if you didn't know somebody, you weren't eating there.
I definitely wasn't eating there.
No, out of the garbage, maybe.
Right, right.
Behind the restaurant.
Yeah, maybe I would get
Like
some
a
fancy
raccoon.
garbage out of there.
Yeah, like a raccoon. They had a whirlwind romance, and I know how romantic that sounds, but how often have I said that sentence on this fucking podcast?
Have you?
Oh my God. The term whirlwind romance, I've said like 80 times. It's never good. It's a red flag.
Why are you doing it then?
So I can talk about how it's really just love bombing.
Oh, yep. You're right about that.
Here's how it goes. I'm going to give a good demonstration of this from my own life experience.
Yeah.
My second marriage. Yeah, I've been married 3 times. Fuck y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I was very young and he was very young, but he was always up my ass. He was giving me gifts. He was calling all the time.
That's not romance, it's stalking, right? There's a line.
Yeah, and it's called let a bitch breathe. Get to know somebody.
Love bombing is a red flag.
It's an abuse tactic.
For sure.
Because that's how it always begins. The abusers start with flattery and gifts and attention. And you
just
are
because
their world.
they have good intentions doesn't mean it's not a red flag, you know?
I'm so glad you said that. Because he was young, I thought he had good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he did. I think his feelings were genuine.
But that doesn't mean he's not scary. I don't know how do you explain that to somebody too, you know?
Yeah, it is hard to explain. But basically, after the just being deluged with devotion and love, and he'd do anything, and everything I said was so funny and smart. Mm-hmm. He wanted to move in pretty much
Never
right away.
let them move in. That's another rule that we can establish here on this podcast.
I'm trying to recall. I think we only dated a month before he moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And not even me and you did that shit.
No, we talked for a year. We talked for a whole year, though.
Yeah, but we did skip the dating.
Well, there was no other way.
No, we were long distance.
Yeah.
So but we talked for a whole year.
Never let him move in, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody who is dating.
Yes.
Never let him move in.
And he convinced her, this Thomas Sweeney, convinced Dominique, which after 3 weeks, to move in together. And so they rented a house in West Hollywood, likely entirely on Dominique's dime, and she then introduced him to her parents. Dominique's father, found John off-putting, overeager. He seemed too into his daughter in a sort of slavishly devoted fashion.
Definitely all the flags.
That's so flags.
So many flags of every country.
Well, he said it seemed kind of weirdly disingenuous and almost like it had a malicious edge to it.
I don't like that.
Her father thought John seemed much more in love with Dominique than she did with him. And I will say that is like, that was literally said to me about my second marriage. Is like, friends of mine will be like, he seems way more into you than you are into him.
Right.
And that's true. I really wasn't into him. I certainly wasn't sexually attracted to him. I thought he was funny looking. And he is.
Yeah. It's true.
And I didn't, there's just a lot about him I didn't really like, but to be so overwhelmingly like adored and worshipped, I felt like it was my problem.
Yeah. You thought, well, he's just being nice though, right?
Yeah, that I find it annoying is because there's something mentally wrong with me.
Right.
And trust there is, but that wasn't it. It was my instincts going, girl, you in danger.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm assuming Dominique, who seemed like kind of a tender-hearted person, given her love of like rescuing stray animals.
Animals, yeah.
And how warm she was and how close she was with her family and parents. I think she felt like it gave her a sense of obligation when somebody devotes themselves to you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to your intuitions.
Girl, that inner voice. If it wants you to check his phone, you know why.
It's because he's crazy.
It's because he's cheating. That's why. Yeah, her older brother Alex had met John at dinner too and didn't like him one bit. He said that when John went to the bathroom, some men from the bar recognized Dana and came up to her and said her famous line from Poltergeist, which is, "What's going on?" You know? And she laughed. She thought it was hilarious and they were just being fans. But John flipped the fuck out.
Yeah.
He came out of the bathroom and clawed at one of the men. Like a crazy person would do.
Was he okay?
He's all clawed up, but
No.
yeah. Alex thought there was something really wrong with John Sweeney. I mean, obviously, you can't, like, if your girlfriend is a famous movie star,
Yeah.
and people are coming up saying, like, her line that she's famous for,
Yeah.
don't claw their face. That's psycho behavior.
Was it bath salts or something? Eating faces?
No, he was just not well and unhinged in general.
Right.
And, you know, again, like, you can be flattered as a woman, like, kind of protective, a little bit jealous. You think, wow, he must really like me, you know? He just wants me to be safe.
I'd break up with somebody if they was clawing other people.
Oh,
you know?
I would too. I abhor violence like that. It's gross. I'm just saying I get why she... And also it's so scary.
Yes, I would be frightened also.
And I think she was scared of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later, Dominique would tell her dad that she didn't feel like John was actually in love with her. She felt like he was obsessed with her and it scared her.
Yeah.
It was making her very uncomfortable and it actually annoyed her too. And I've read the book that Dominique's father wrote about this experience. And I just, the part that stuck out to me is that it annoyed her. That slavish devotion was obnoxious to her.
Why wouldn't she just break? I mean, I guess I get why. Cause
oh,
of the fear
well,
and
we'll
everything,
talk about that in a
Okay.
minute. But
Right.
it's just really gross to me, the whole thing. Like, I don't know. I just felt annoyed by it too. And it made me feel like a bad person. Like, he's being so nice to me and so considerate and thoughtful. And I hate it.
Yep.
Because, I feel like I've been asking, like, the universe. That's what I want. I want a partner who's considerate and thoughtful and loving. And sensitive. And he was being those things. But he was being those things in a way that made me uncomfortable. And I didn't understand why.
It always comes off as disingenuous.
It did.
Yeah.
It came off as controlling.
Yes.
And it was hard to pinpoint why. But I was only, like, 19 at the time.
Right. You're not Sigmund Freud over here. You know?
And my prefrontal cortex was undeveloped.
Right.
And so, like, if you're a young person listening to me right now and you feel that way when your significant other is showing you devotion and affection,
Break up with him.
run.
Just
It's
break up
not
with
going to get, if they're not dangerous, you've got the ick. The ick cannot be overcome once you feel it.
Yeah. It's true. It's
If
true.
you feel revulsion and disgust and annoyance at your new relationship partner, that ain't for you, sister.
Just break up with him. It's okay.
It's always
Just do
the
it.
answer.
Let me do it for you. You just let me do it.
Maris would love to
I'll break up
for
with
you.
all your boyfriends.
He will call them.
I will call them, yeah.
And say shitty, mean things.
And say, nobody likes you. Bye.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Nobody likes you, bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
Yes.
Because Maris is something wrong with him.
It's true.
On July 4th, and, they've only been, living together for a little bit. Dominique, John, and her dad were all having dinner at a cafe watching the fireworks. John seemed to have difficulty talking and seemed stiff and quiet. Dominique and John had a small argument right there at the cafe, and it was clear that John was not only possessive, but jealous of his girlfriend's success.
Mm.
And that she had bruises on her arms, and it wasn't the first time her family had noticed.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So I get when people are like, break up. We're going to see why breaking up now is
right
fucking
there.
scary.
Yep. This guy's crazy.
Because I can't tell you how many times I broke up with my second ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10.
Yeah.
And you would say, why did you keep taking him back? I'll tell you why. Relentless stalking, harassment, and threats made me very scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you just get in this place where you just want to tell them anything so that they'll stop being scary at you and stop being scary at your kids. You'll tell them anything they want to hear.
You can't reason with crazy.
But you sure can't.
Mm-mm.
And you'd think, well, call the police. Well, bitch, I did many times.
They don't help.
And they didn't do anything.
No.
They didn't protect me or my kids. He was breaking into my car and stealing my wallet, so I couldn't even buy food for my children.
Yep.
And so she found herself in a similar position. On August 26, 1982, a fight between the young couple escalated, and John ripped out some of her hair.
Nope.
She fled the home she rented with him, terrified and hurt. She went to her mother's house where John followed. He banged on all the windows and doors, wanting inside to talk to her, and Lenny told him, that's her mother, if he didn't leave, she would call police, and he left. 2 days later, however, Dominique and John had reconciled, and she went back to him. Dominique was now in an abusive relationship cycle. She was struggling to leave. And remember, we don't victim blame on this fucking podcast.
No, the solution is that this guy shouldn't have acted this way in the first place. That's the solution.
The solution is he should have been jailed a long time
Yeah,
ago. He had a history of violence.
And we should, but as stated earlier, the cops never don't do anything.
No, because the result of this case is so infuriating, you're going to need to lay down.
We're going to rip out our own hairs. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
A month later, in September of that same year, Dominique and John got into yet another fight, and this time Dominique decided to end the relationship for good. John had grabbed her and thrown her down on the ground and strangled her. Men who put their hands on you, like especially strangling, like around your throat, and it's not because you say, choke me, daddy.
Right.
Are literally like, I think it's like 50% more likely to kill you.
Yeah. So that's definitely, if you're getting physically assaulted, that's a big, all of them are red flags, but that's one.
Yeah. A friend who was there ran into the room and that gave Dominique a chance to escape him. And she told the friend that John had just tried to kill her.
Yeah.
She then pretended to need to use the bathroom and escaped through a window of her own fucking house. She got into her car, and as she tried to drive away, John flung himself onto the car.
Yeah.
Trying to prevent her from leaving. This has actually happened to me.
It's so scary.
Yeah. The worst, though, is being like in a car with somebody like that. And my ex knew that I was traumatized with cars because of my bad car accident. And he was going 70 miles an hour through a neighborhood just to terrorize me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something wrong with people like this.
Something wrong with him.
Anyway, when he slid off the car, she peeled out and she went to her mom's.
Right.
And she broke up with John over the phone. And for a little while, he seemed to accept her decision. And that is the pattern. I will tell you that right now. Mm-hmm. You will get maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks of peace. Because that's what would happen with me.
Yeah.
And that's when he was trying to score with other chicks, by the way. That wasn't
it wasn't about
sad.
you.
It wasn't about
me.
me.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to be alone. And so he thought, I'll just get on these dating apps and I'll find somebody. But he's a slug person. And nobody wants him. And so he would come back and then terrorize me.
Right.
When it didn't work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. John moved out of the house they rented, and Dominique moved back to the house and had the locks changed. On October 30th, 1982, Dominique was at home going over lines with a fellow actor when she got a phone call from a friend. John Sweeney called around the same time. And so to explain to you Gen Z people, back then, like you had a phone and it connected to the wall by a phone cord, a phone line.
Back in our day.
Yeah, but you couldn't, like, you know how when you get another call now, it goes beep, beep, and then you switch over?
Yeah.
That wasn't the case in 1982 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you had something called call waiting, and I'm not sure it was available then.
I think call waiting was early 90s.
That's what I think, too. Yeah. So he called and got a busy signal.
Right. Which is like a couple beeps.
Yeah, which is instead of like doing the normal thing and hanging up and thinking, well, I'll call back in a little bit, he, like a psycho, called the operator.
Yeah.
Back then we had operators for our phone lines, and you could ask them for like numbers and stuff like that. It was like a help desk.
It was customer service, right?
Pretty much. And he demanded that it was an emergency and he be able to be put on the line with her, and the call between her and her friend would be disconnected.
That's so nuts. Yeah.
So that's what he did.
Yeah.
And of course she immediately hung up, and he kept trying to call over and over and over. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang, and it was John.
Yep.
After a brief conversation from behind the door, John was able to lure Dominique out onto the porch. Her acting partner remained inside, and he heard a scream, and then a banging sound. He called a friend after not being able to get through the police because, like, back then, this is another thing people don't realize, you didn't immediately think to call 911 because 911 wasn't that old.
Right.
You would call he called looked it up in the phone book to look up the number for the police, and he had gotten a bad line. He had misdialed or something.
Right.
So he then called a friend, and he got their answering machine, and he left a message that said, "If you don't hear from me, or if I turn up dead, John Sweeney killed me."
Right.
David Packer, that's the acting partner, left the house and went to the driveway, kind of parking lot area just outside, where he saw John Sweeney leaning over the apparently lifeless body of Dominique Dunne. Police arrived on the scene, and John surrendered.
Yeah.
Immediately, John said, "Man, I blew it. I killed her. I didn't think I choked her that hard. Man, I blew it again." Again?
Yep.
Again? It's never been investigated, but I would not be shocked if he had not killed a woman before.
I'm sure of it. I'm not like a detective or anything.
You're not the Great Mouse detective.
I'm just a guy that lives under a rock. I think that he did it before.
He's so cocky about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
First responders found a faint pulse, and Dominique was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where she was taken immediately to the ICU. They tried to stabilize her. She was put on life support. After an examination, it was determined that Dominique was brain dead. The hospital called her father to tell him that his 22-year-old daughter was near death. He got on a plane and went to Lenny's house. The house was surrounded by the press, and her parents went to the hospital to make the difficult decision after 3 more examinations to pull the plug and let her go.
Yeah.
Her father would never forget seeing the ring of dark bruises on his daughter's throat that had been done 5 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Like a few weeks earlier.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
She was on life support for 5 days, and they donated her heart and kidneys to people who needed them.
Oh.
Dominique's funeral, this is a fucked up thing that happened.
Okay.
Was held in Beverly Hills at the Church of the Good Shepherd, which was known for hosting, funerals for famous people. The church had accidentally double booked a wedding for November 6th, the day of Dominique's funeral. And what was worse, the groom of this wedding was friends with John Sweeney.
Ew. What the hell?
Her funeral was held later that day. There were over 500 mourners present. Her brothers read a poem by William Butler Yeats. But their grief would be compounded by a difficult trial and a very disappointing verdict.
Okay.
Yeah, prepare yourself. It's going to piss you off.
I don't want to. Can we just stop here?
The trial began in August of 1983, and the judge was Burton S. Katz. I say his name for he may be shamed.
Meow meow.
God damn you, Maris.
I can't help it.
John Sweeney took the stand in his own defense, which is usually not done and is a bad idea, but it went great for him. He said he hadn't meant to hurt Dominique when he went to her house that night. He told the jury that they'd actually reconciled and he was planning on moving back. He said that they were even talking about marriage and children. John said that when he came to her house on October 30th, she had suddenly changed her mind about wanting to get back together. She told him she let him on and never had any intention of going back with him. And I don't believe him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
When I led my ex on, which I did many times, it's because I was afraid.
Yeah.
And or desperate. But you think I confessed this shit to him?
Mm-mm.
He would kill me or hurt me.
Yeah.
Or scream at me. So no, I don't believe she said that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
It's the murderer's word against the victim, so I don't even know why we're listening. Mm-hmm. So
exactly.
I'm real mad, but like, oh well.
But victims will often say whatever they can and, just to get the abuser to leave them alone. So
it shouldn't matter.
No, but he said this enraged him and he strangled her. He said on the stand he had no memory of the attack.
No, whatever.
He then attempted to revive her by, quote, making her walk around, end quote.
That's so crap.
But she fell over. Then he attempted CPR, which caused her to vomit. He said that then he vomited himself. He ran into Dominique's house and found 2 bottles of pills in her bathroom, which he took, hoping to end his own life. And then he lay next to her body in the driveway and waited for the pills to kill him, which they didn't. What a shame.
Mm-hmm.
His attorney said that he had not premeditated her murder and that it was done in the heat of passion due to her deception. Gross.
And no, because there was evidence of him hurting her before in the same way that she died.
Oh, be ready, be mad.
Okay, fine.
Her family and the prosecutor of the case disputed these claims. There was no evidence at the scene to suggest he'd taken any pills. Dominique didn't have any. She was 22 years fucking old. In perfect health.
It shouldn't matter. That was after the crime.
The autopsy of Dominique had revealed that he'd strangled her for at least 3 minutes. And that is more than enough time to make it premeditated at some point.
Yep, and there was witnesses to show that he strangled her before, so definitely premeditated.
Oh, well, you just wait.
Uh-huh.
So let me explain to you. You can start out not doing a premeditated attack.
Okay.
Maris could tell me that, like, my opinions are so ass, and then I could become enraged and tackle him and start strangling him.
Yeah.
But it's going on for more than a second. That's not a crime of passion. I am deciding to kill this person. That is premeditation. It only takes 1 second of premeditation for it to count in the eyes of the law.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything because I'm not a lawyer, but I just know that this is ass.
This is indeed ass. Mm-hmm. Police and investigators interviewed ex-girlfriends of John Sweeney. One of them testified at his trial, was going to testify. That testimony was removed by the judge because it would prejudice the jury against him. But I maintain it set up a pattern of behavior. He had also nearly strangled her to death and broke her arm. Mm-hmm. Dominique's parents and family could not testify that they had seen bruises on Dominique in the past.
Yep.
Because the judge in this case would not allow any of this testimony. A jury of his peers on September 21st, 1983 acquitted him of second-degree murder. They found him guilty of a lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter instead.
Whatever.
Everyone blamed the judge in this case, obviously. On November 7th, 1983, John Sweeney was sentenced to 6 years in prison.
I hope that he just has every bad thing happen to him.
No, of course not. After his release, after only serving 2.5 years, he went to work as a head chef at an upscale restaurant in Santa Monica. When Dominique's family found out, they stood outside the restaurant and handed out flyers that said, "The food you will eat tonight was cooked by the hands that killed Dominique Dunne." Because of these protests by the family, he quit that job. Dominique Dunne had John followed by a private investigator for years, but it wore on him, and eventually he decided he didn't want to squander the rest of his life following around his daughter's murderer. John Sweeney went on to change his name, and his whereabouts are unknown as of 1994. But basically, fuck that guy.
Right.
And fuck that judge.
Yep.
Piss me off.
Yeah.
Anyway, You know what doesn't piss me off?
What is it?
Fucking business time.
Business time.
So tomorrow, I was going to record it tonight, but I can't. Everything's all screwy. Maddie works really early in the morning. I didn't have my notes ready in time, so Maris recorded with me tonight. But I will be recording with Maris tomorrow because I need him on this Patreon episode.
Okay.
It's Saddam Hussein's erotica novel writing career.
Oh, boy.
So join Patreon so you don't miss out on that because it's funnier than... It's as funny as you imagine it to be.
I'm here for it. I bet it's sexy.
Imagine a book entirely written in all dialogue.
Yes, I'm imagining.
Zabiba and the King.
Oh,
There's
boy.
smut in it, too.
I'm about
it's
it.
It's not good.
Yeah, yes.
It's not... Oh, did you know it's an allegorical novel?
No.
About the U.S., Iraq, and him.
Oh, that sounds even hotter.
Nothing about it's hot, and it's real dumb, and you guys are going to love it. So, and in addition, there's over probably close to 700 hours of content on Patreon now, and it's just $5 a month. That's pretty cheap. Moving right along, Maris, you have a podcast. What's the name of it?
Reality with your host, me, Maris, and my wife, Lillian, over there.
I'm over here.
And it's a podcast where I just talk about the TV I watch.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It is, yeah. We've been watching a lot of Sister Wife, and I'm gonna watch a new show that I've been enjoying. It's called Alaskan Bush People.
Man punches fish.
Oh, it's really
to
good.
Death.
It's really good.
It is really good. And yes, we know it's scripted. You don't have to tell us, babies.
I don't care.
No, we don't care.
It's about my enjoyment of it.
Indeed.
Yes.
And I think as far as business time goes, we have a new website that's being done right now. We're going to be on social media because we were for a while, but then I got banned and Willow flew away. So we have all of those things coming. We also have new merch coming, like in the next week or two. I'm being generous. It'll probably be sooner than that, but I hate making promises and they never happen because I've done that and I feel bad. So yeah, keep an eye. Exciting year.
Yeah.
Everything else sucks, but this podcast won't. Maris?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What?
You owe me an apology, right?
I'm sorry, I love you.
And you love the podcast.
I love the podcast.
And you love the tea bags.
And I love the tea bags.
Inappropriately.
Let
us say goodbye to them.
Bye.
Bye. Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/Cruelty has all the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Lee.